Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We are here to discuss a topic which is quite complex and it gets a lot of emotions from people, and it's also very challenging for people going through that. It affects not just the person going through cancer, but his entire family or his or her entire family. So, last month was Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we thought it was a good idea to continue the conversations around childhood cancer. Um, and we will focus on navigating the challenges of access to care, to treatment, to survivorship issues for better outcomes, especially in context of cancers that require multimodal care. We are very privileged to have with us a very interesting panel. Let me introduce the panel in just a short moment. A quick reminder for people who are watching us for the first time, or who've come back after a while. Patients Engage's objective is to inform, engage, and empower patients and caregivers with the objective of ensuring that the outcomes that we all want in terms of quality of life are improved. um, and as you are aware, under the Cancer Power Circle, we've done a wide range of topics where we've talked of cancer prevention, we've talked of relationship issues with cancer, um, dealing with conversations with your children, conversations with caregivers, spouses. We've talked of technical aspects of uh, bone marrow transplants. We've talked of living with stoma bags with for bladder cancer. We've also done advocacy for saying no to tobacco, for especially under the context of oral cancer, and we've done series on breast cancer. And here are some of the things we've covered. We've talked of side effects, we've talked of lymphedema, we've talked of body image and staying fit. Specifically for childhood cancer, this is the third in our series. We've done two before where we've talked of dealing with fear and stigma, um, getting back to a life with equal opportunities of education, employment, and relationship, and the challenges faced. So when Dr. Amandeep shared a report on a collaborative effort on handling osteosarcoma, we thought it was a good topic to cover this year. And especially because when we spoke to, I think the last one we did figure out that the challenges of somebody living with osteosarcoma are kind of significantly higher than others as well. So let me quickly introduce our panelists. We have a very, as I said, a very interesting panel and a very accomplished panel. We have with us Dr. Amandeep Arora, who's a senior consultant pediatric oncology at Max Hospital in Delhi. Um, he's also got, let me see, he's a secretary of Indian Pediatric Oncology Group, and he also spends a lot of time in terms of, he's also the honorary head quality care, research, and impact analysis at CanKids. We've got with us Poonam Bagai, who's the founder of CanKids, Kids Can. She herself is a colon cancer survivor and a patient advocate. And in the last 15 years, she has grown CanKids, founded and grown CanKids as a national society for change for childhood cancer in India. And they partner with 70 cancer centers and provide support in another 35 across the country. They've handled, I think, more than 15,000 new cases of cancer. She's also the vice chairman of Pallium India, chairperson. Okay. We have with us Rashmi, who is Rashmi Chopra, is a senior social worker and project manager at CanKids. She coordinates and facilitates the care of these children between all the professionals and the organizations. And we've got two patients with us today. We've got Sakshi Devi, who is here, and we are waiting for Anis Alam. Sakshi is 21 years old, and she is a patient of osteosarcoma and currently still undergoing treatment. And we'll talk to her later. And we have Anis Alam, who will be joining, who is also osteosarcoma patient. but he's back in, I think in Bihar, which is where he's from. Okay, so let's get started. I think, and just a quick reminder to people watching, as always, this is not, whatever is discussed here is not to be taken as medical advice. So please do consult your doctor for specific medical issues. The information here is based on the experience of the panelists. The session is being recorded. If you are logged into Zoom, post your questions on the Q&A. You can see the button at the bottom of the page. And if you're on Facebook, you can post your comments, questions on the live feed, and we will take the questions. The discussion will be a mix of English and Hindi, so we will handle both during this session. And as always, you can write to us at editor@patientsengage.com and follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter. All our recordings go up on YouTube. So the previous webinars that I've talked up, they're all on our YouTube channel. So let me stop sharing and get started. Thank you everyone for joining once again. I think I'm told that Anis has joined. So let me see if I can promote him. See, Anis, is Anis joined as IGIMS Patna, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm promoting him. So you will have you will get a notification, Anis, on your, yeah, I think we can see. Okay, good. Thank you. Do you want to speak just so that we can check the audio, Anis? आप कुछ बोल के दिखाइए तो हमें पता चले.
Good morning.
ठीक है, good morning.
मेरा नाम MD अनीस आलम, गांव खानवा, जिला पूर्णिया का रहने वाला हूं। मैं अपने बीमारी के बारे में बताना चाहता हूं। सबसे पहले पैर में दर्द शुरू हुआ।
अनीस बाद में, थोड़ी देर बाद हम आपके पास बाद में आएंगे पूछने के लिए आपके, थोड़ा हम बाकी डिस्कशन कर लें, फिर उसके बाद आएंगे, ठीक है? So let us start with Dr. Ramandeep. Can you quickly for our audience kind of describe or define what is childhood cancer or pediatric cancer and what are the broad categories that typically falls
good morning everyone, and Aparna, thank you to Patients Engage for this platform. I was watching the several topics you have covered, and I think this work would complement what you have done, because this looks at healthcare systems and how you access healthcare systems, and I'm particularly pleased that you have this patients forum or a patient engage forum, which allows us to communicate to a new audience. Too often we are stuck in our own scientific world, and we need to do this much more. So without taking more time, so childhood cancer is cancer in children. Cancer in children can be, or it is, how you define child varies. It varies based on the biology of the child, but it also often varies in our country by the child with cancer may go to a pediatric ward or adult ward, depending on which hospital they go to. So very often we may see a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old in the same place as somebody who's got a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old with cancer, and the needs are very different. So when we are talking about childhood cancer in this meeting today, and generally, we would definitely look at 0 to 18 years, because we feel that the needs of these children and the teenagers and adolescents are broadly similar. Some would even go up to the age of 21, but that is where I would draw the line. Now, the common cancers in children can be grouped broadly in 3 ways. One is liquid cancers or leukemias. The second is solid cancers, which the name suggests they are solid. And the third is brain cancers or CNS tumors, as we call them. So the solid tumors is a mixed bag, one of which is sarcomas. Sarcomas means muscle and bone tumors, and these could be from any muscle or any bone of the body. Osteosarcoma is the most common bone cancer in children. And osteosarcoma is also noteworthy because the peak of incidence is between the ages of 15 to 19. So this group of children and patients get the highest osteosarcoma than any other age group. And so it's truly a pediatric and adolescent disease. And when you have additional burden of schooling and growing and adolescence and emotional challenges, this poses or adds to that challenge. Thank you.
Thanks. So if you look at these various types of childhood cancers, what are the typical challenges that you see that affect the outcomes?
If you open a textbook of pediatric oncology, what it will teach you is that when you treat children with cancer, the vast majority of children get cured. And I think that is the first message over here. 80 to 90% of children get cured across the board, with some cancers doing better and some cancers doing worse. And again, going back to a textbook version, what they would say is that some children, 1%, 2%, 3% may have very severe side effects needing intensive care and ultimately may succumb to their illness and the treatment. And another 5 to 10% would have a relapse or recurrence. And so those are the two main challenges which a doctor and a healthcare community and the patient should be aware of and deal with. However, this textbook version applies only to 10% of the world. Because in the rest 90% of the world, there is this additional dimension of accessing care, abandoning treatment, not finishing treatment. And depending on where you live and what kind of hospital you access, this may be anywhere from 0.5% in Germany to as high as 80 to 90% in parts of Africa. And so this is the real world. And so all pediatric oncologists and stakeholders in this area have to accept it, have to understand it, and have to find ways to deal with it, because without dealing with how a child reaches your hospital, how a child gets the treatment, how a child makes through the treatment, and then goes on to become a survivor or needs palliation or needs both, all that has to be within this umbrella of access to care. And that is what is relevant for this children's outcome.
Right. Coming to you, Poonam, you've been running CanKids for now 15 years. We know that access is a big challenge, but what have been the key learnings from CanKids over the last few years on interventions, especially from a care perspective, and care beyond just medical, right? There's the medical as for sure, which is important, but care beyond the medical that also improves the outcomes.
So Aparna, thank you very much. And thank you, Patients Engage, to have us today. As you said, this is to inform and to empower both. And it's important to get the messages out there. As someone who's had cancer myself and often works with patients, the biggest challenge is to figure out where to go and how to get there and who's going to meet you there. And will the doctor have time to answer all your questions?
Correct.
And of course, when you're talking about the big C word, cancer, then first of all, just dealing with the word is so difficult that when the doctor said you need to get this test done, these diagnoses done, you need to go to this room, you need to get all these tests done, you haven't got past the word C for cancer. Right? And if you're talking about children with cancer, तो फिर वो बच्चे के अलावा वो बच्चा अगर थोड़ा बड़ा है उसको फिर भी कुछ समझ में आएगा, छोटा बच्चा है उसको नहीं समझ में आया, फिर उसकी माँ या उसके बाप तो बिल्कुल ही डिस्ट्रॉट है. So I think it is very, very important that that hand holding, that which we call patient navigation, has to be there, right? And when we talk about patient navigation or we talk about care coordination, It's very important that our doctors and our treating teams have that support,
Right.
right? Because then a doctor is really able to do a good job of making sure that he gives the best treatment or the best care or makes the best treatment plan.
Mm.
In a country like ours, if a doctor wants to give a certain, diagnostic test or a certain treatment, and he only has to worry about can the family afford it, right? Then he's hamstrung. If the family has to worry about, do I have the funds? Do I know what to do? Do I need supportive care? Do I know where to stay? And do I ensure that my kid is getting good treatment? That family is completely lost.
Right.
So forming a bridge to make this treatment effective, right? To enable doctors to be able to give the best, whatever the best diagnostic is, right?
Mm.
They
Mm.
don't, they shouldn't have to worry about the funds, and neither should the family,
Right.
right? And that will give the kind of survival rates that Dr. Ramandeep talked about. We
Correct.
want those survivals for our kids with cancer, and those survivals can only happen if you have the whole picture.
Mm.
You can't do one without the other. I could do
Correct.
all the access to care piece. If I bring the children to the hospital, if we bring the children to the hospitals, but the hospitals don't have all the facilities, it's not helping, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, if the children don't come to the hospitals, then what can a doctor do with that? So I
Right.
do want to leave you with one statistic on this. And this is that today, not more than 30% children with cancer are making it to a treating center anywhere in the country. So a big piece of our challenge is this access to care piece.
Right. Right. And I do want to bring you back into this, Dr. Ramandeep, because I remember when we were talking, you also talked about one is that we get to a treating center, only 30% get to a treating center. Usme, then there is the challenge of not having all the skill sets that are required or all the facilities that are required, right? So, for instance, you've talked of the fact that some cancers need radiation therapy, and not all cancer centers or not all treating centers in the country have radiation options. Similarly, there are challenges of, I think osteosarcoma, for instance, requires specialized care by someone who knows how to handle surgery as well. So if you can just talk us a little bit on those challenges, specifically if you can focus on osteosarcoma before we talk to, Sakshi and Anis.
Yes, so the added complexity comes that for certain cancers, treatment is, as you mentioned at the beginning, multimodal. So, for example, for leukemia, the treatment is predominantly chemotherapy, and if they reach the right center and the right doctor, they can get everything under one roof.
Right.
But for cancers like bone cancer, osteosarcoma, you want to save their life and you want to save their limb, because having no limb has enormous social and economic implications for a young adult.
Correct.
And it also affects the way they take treatment. And if you tell them on the first day that we will not be able to save your leg, then they often run away.
Correct.
So that is the first thing, that you should multimodal. But the second thing is the multimodal treatment should be delivered at the right time. So if you give it late, then the benefit of one mode has disappeared. So if the surgery is supposed to be done after 3 months and it is done after 9 months, by that time the first mode has become useless, and all the money and the effort made by the parent and the patient and the doctor has gone waste. So it's criminal in my view. And actually what you need is, you need to coordinate that if all services are not available under one roof, you bring all partners who have the services and say, okay, iske liye aap yahan jana, iske liye aap yahan jana, aur iske liye yahan jana.
Right.
And if it is available within the public sector, then it needs coordination only, may not need funds. If it is available within the public sector in partnership with the private sector, then it needs coordination and some funds. But I think we sometimes overestimate how much funds we need. I don't think we are failing because of lack of funds. We may have some problems, but we are failing because we are not coordinating and we are not utilizing the funds which are already available to us.
Right.
And I think if we just use what is available to us through, Arogya Shri or Ayushman Bharat or Prime Minister Relief Fund or Chief Minister or crowdfunding or NGO raising money or private philanthropists, and package that with coordination, which is why Rashmi is such a critical resource, and how CanKids forms the bridge, then you've got a winning formula.
Right. Thank you. So, just a reminder to anybody who's joined us late, we are talking about navigating care for childhood cancer patients and the challenges involved and the potentially ways forward. Let us talk. अब हम साक्षी देवी और अनीस आलम से बात करेंगे और रश्मि भी जो उनके साथ काफी काम किया है. अनीस, आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर दीजिए और हाँ, और आप बताइए, आप जो पहले बता रहे थे कि आपको पहले सिम्टम्स क्या हुए थे और आपकी ट्रीटमेंट कैसे हुई, आप थोड़ा बताइए.
दर्द शुरू हुआ, पूर्णिया में इलाज करवाए. इसके बाद पूर्णिया में वहाँ पर जांच हुआ और जांच में ट्यूमर कैंसर और वहाँ रेफर कर दिया पटना महावीर कैंसर संस्थान. और
फिर वहाँ से क्या हुआ?
वहाँ से केमोथेरेपी सब हुआ, 4 केमोथेरेपी हुआ. इसके बाद जो है दिल्ली डॉक्टर साजिश सर दिल्ली रेफर किए. इसके बाद ग्रीन पार्क 10 दिन रुके वहाँ पर. उसके बाद मैक्स हॉस्पिटल डॉक्टर अक्षय तिवारी के पास गए, डॉक्टर अक्षय तिवारी सर के पास. इसके बाद रश्मि मैम साथ में थे और 12 फरवरी को ऑपरेशन हुआ. इसके बाद फिर 4-5-6 दिन के बाद जो है वहाँ गए ग्रीन पार्क, वहाँ पर 1 महीना रुके और अभी मैं ठीक हूँ. उसके बाद फिर पटना आए, 5 और केमो चला. इसके बाद फिर अभी ठीक हूँ, सब कुछ ठीक है, बिल्कुल ठीक है.
अब ठीक है.
अब जो है पढ़ रहे हैं और पढ़ना चाह रहे हैं.
Good. Rashmi, let me bring you in. Can you talk us through कि उनका जो कोऑर्डिनेशन करना पड़ा था आपको, उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए, क्योंकि ये पुन्या से पहले पटना पहुंचे, फिर उसके बाद आगे कैसे हुआ, आपको कब इत्तला मिली या आपको कैसे पता चला कि ये पेशेंट है, कैसे कांटेक्ट हुआ?
थैंक यू मैम. मैम अनीस आलम जो बच्चा है वो हमारी कैनकिड्स की सपोर्ट यूनिट पटना में थी, महावीर कैंसर संस्थान. वहाँ पे ट्रीटमेंट ले रहा था अपना, और जब इसको पूर्णिया से रिलीफ नहीं मिला और इसके सिम्टम्स ऐसे थे कि इसको किसी हायर सेंटर में रेफर करना था, तो ये हमारे पटना वाले सेंटर में आया था. और फॉर्चुनेटली हमारी कैनकिड्स की जो टीम है वो ऐसे सारे सेंटर्स पे अवेलेबल है जहाँ पर कि चिल्ड्रन विद कैंसर का ट्रीटमेंट होता है. वहाँ पे हमारी टीम ने अनीस का हैंड होल्ड किया और उसको हमारे कैनकिड्स के अंडर रजिस्टर किया, और जो भी सपोर्ट हम इसको वहाँ पे प्रोवाइड कर सकते थे वो हमने उसको प्रोवाइड किया, और इसने अपना न्यू एडजुवेंट कीमोथेरेपी वहाँ पे कंप्लीट किया. आफ्टर दैट जब डॉक्टर ने असेस किया कि इसको स्पेशल सर्जरी की रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो वो रिक्वेस्ट हमारे पास कैनकिड्स के थ्रू, कैनकिड्स में हमारे मेडिकल एडवाइजर हैं डॉक्टर हरेश गुप्ता, जो इस तरह के डिसीजंस में हमारी हेल्प करते हैं, हमें गाइड करते हैं. उनके थ्रू ये केस हमारे पास मैक्स हॉस्पिटल में आया, और मैक्स हॉस्पिटल में हमारे सर्जन हैं डॉक्टर अक्षय तिवारी, उनकी नॉलेज में ये केस हमारे पास आया. और इस पूरे प्रोसेस में जो हमारे डॉक्टर रमनदीप अरोड़ा हैं, हम उनसे सजेशन लेते हैं कि इस पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा केयर प्लान सही रहेगा. उस कंडीशन में जब पेशेंट को सर्जरी के लिए मैक्स हॉस्पिटल में रेफर किया गया, तो मेरा रोल वहाँ पे था कि हम डॉक्टर से डिस्कशन करके और बच्चे के लिए एक ओपीडी प्लान करें. बिकॉज अपॉइंटमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग जब अनीस का यहाँ पे ओपीडी होगा, देन फिर डॉक्टर हमें बताएंगे कि सर्जरी रिक्वायर्ड है या नहीं है, या फिर सर्जरी में कितना एस्टिमेट होगा, जो भी खर्चा होगा, और प्लस में उसको रेडिएशन की भी जरूरत है या नहीं है, और उसका टोटल जो सर्जरी प्लान है वो कितने दिन का होगा, और पोस्ट ऑप उसको क्या क्या केयर प्लान चाहिए होगा. देन उसके अकॉर्डिंग हमने मैक्स में उसका ओपीडी प्लान किया, डॉक्टर के साथ उसका मीटिंग हुआ, डॉक्टर ने उसको सर्जरी का डेट दिया। जब बच्चा हमारे पास मैक्स हॉस्पिटल दिल्ली में विजिट कर रहा था, तो उस टाइम मेरा रोल ये भी होता है कि मैं पेशेंट को अगेन अपने हॉस्पिटल यूनिट के साथ रजिस्टर करूं, सो दैट कि उसको यहाँ से दिल्ली वाली यूनिट से जो भी सपोर्ट मिलना है वो हम इजीली प्रोवाइड कर सकें। और उस टाइम पे जब मैंने कई बार ऑब्जर्व किया है कि जब पेशेंट हमारे पास दिल्ली में आता है, मैक्स हॉस्पिटल में आता है, तो वो काफी ज्यादा उस टाइम घबराए होते हैं। दिल्ली उनके लिए नया एक्सपीरियंस होता है, उनको नहीं पता होता है कि ड्यूरिंग ट्रीटमेंट उन्हें कहाँ स्टे करना है, कैसे ट्रीटमेंट कराना है, और सबसे बड़ी बात की जो उनको सर्जरी ऑफर की जाती है वो कुछ लाख रुपीज में होती है।
करेक्ट,
तो वो उनके लिए काफी बड़ा फाइनेंशियल चैलेंज होता है। तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग पेशेंट को इमोशनल सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करना, उसके साथ उसका हैंड होल्डिंग करके उसका केयर प्लान डिस्कस करना, साथ में उसके साथ ये भी प्लान बनाना और डॉक्टर की हेल्प से ये भी प्लान करना और कि हम उसको कैसे कैसे फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं। हम पेशेंट की एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया भी एसेस करते हैं ड्यूरिंग दिस डिस्कशन कि पेशेंट अगर किसी गवर्नमेंट फंड के लिए एलिजिबल है, लाइक प्राइम मिनिस्टर रिलीफ फंड, चीफ मिनिस्टर रिलीफ फंड, या फिर वो अभी एक हमारी जो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम है आयुष्मान भारत, उसके अंडर अगर वो एलिजिबल है। और एक और इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन आता है कि क्या पेशेंट के पास सर्जरी के लिए अभी टाइम है, बिकॉज अगर पेशेंट हमारे पास इनिशियल स्टेज में आ रहा है ड्यूरिंग फर्स्ट कीमोथेरेपी या आफ्टर फर्स्ट कीमोथेरेपी, तो हम उसके लिए एनफ टाइम है कि हम फंड में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। अदरवाइज अगर हमें इमीडिएट बेसिस पे सर्जरी प्लान करनी है विद इन ए वीक और विद इन 2 वीक, तो हमारे पास एनफ टाइम नहीं है कि हम उसके लिए फंड्स के लिए अप्लाई कर सकें। तो उस कंडीशन में हम अपने जो मैक्स का हमारा चाइल्डहुड कैंसर केयर फंड है, जो हमने कैनकिड्स में रखा हुआ है, उसके लिए हम रिक्वेस्ट जनरेट करते हैं और बच्चे को वहां से फंड अरेंज करके हम उसको इमीडिएट सर्जरी सपोर्ट करते हैं। तो इस तरीके से तो हमने अभी हमारे करंट चाइल्ड साक्षी को सपोर्ट किया है। और अनीस के केस में हमारे पास फॉर्चुनेटली उस टाइम एक मैक्स इंडिया फाउंडेशन के नाम से भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी, जो हमें बच्चों के लिए सर्जरी के लिए और रेडिएशन एक्सेट्रा ट्रीटमेंट के लिए फंड्स प्रोवाइड करती थी। तो उस अनीस के केस में हमने मैक्स इंडिया फाउंडेशन से फंड अरेंज किया। मैक्स हेल्थ केयर जो हमारी मैक्स हॉस्पिटल साकेत की यूनिट है, यहाँ से हमें बच्चे के टोटल बिल पे डिस्काउंट ऑफर हुआ, उससे हमारा बिल कुछ कम हुआ। और साथ में जो हमारा पेशेंट का केयर प्लान था वो पूरा हमने कैनकिड्स की तरफ से एग्जीक्यूट किया, बिकॉज प्री सर्जरी भी पेशेंट को 1 और 2 विजिट हॉस्पिटल में करने पड़ते हैं। डॉक्टर उसका डिजीज एनालिसिस करते हैं, उसको क्या प्रोस्थेसिस की रिक्वायरमेंट है या नहीं है, वो सारा, बच्चे का एडमिशन कब होगा, ये सारे प्लान के अकॉर्डिंग 1 और 2 विजिट उसको प्री सर्जरी रिक्वायर्ड है। और पोस्ट ऑप के बाद भी उसको ड्रेसिंग का रिक्वायरमेंट है, ड्रेन का रिक्वायरमेंट है, और साथ में जैसे जैसे टाइम ओवर होता है बच्चे को हॉस्पिटल में फॉलो अप की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है। अनीस आलम का जो सर्जरी हुआ था वो राइट लेग में हुआ था, तो पोस्ट ऑप वो वॉक नहीं कर सकता था और उसको एम्बुलेंस के सपोर्ट की भी जरूरत थी। तो इस तरह के जितने भी सपोर्ट थे, उसको इमोशनल सपोर्ट देना, और फिर उसका ऑपरेशन होने के बाद, बिकॉज बच्चा एक तो दिल्ली आया है, इतने ट्रॉमा से गुजर रहा है, फाइनेंशियल भी स्ट्रेस है उसको, साथ में उसको लग रहा है कि मेरे पैर के बारे में डॉक्टर क्या डिसीजन लेंगे, सर्जरी के बाद ये कैसा रहेगा, वो सब चीजें उसके साथ में थी। और जब उसका ऑपरेशन हो गया तो आफ्टर 1 और 2 डेज आईसीयू और वार्ड केयर के बाद हमने उसको कैनकिड्स में शिफ्ट करने का प्लान किया, बिकॉज कैनकिड्स में हमारे पास हमारे डॉक्टर्स की टीम अवेलेबल है, नर्सेस की टीम अवेलेबल है, जो 24 आवर्स हमारे पेशेंट के केयर में इन्वॉल्व रहती है। और ये सेंटर हमारे मैक्स हॉस्पिटल से 5 किलोमीटर दूरी है, और हम वहाँ पे बच्चे को अपने कैनकिड्स की एम्बुलेंस के सपोर्ट से ही शिफ्ट करते हैं। तो बच्चे का लेग का सर्जरी था और उसको ऐसे रिस्क से हम नहीं भेज सकते थे, तो हमने एम्बुलेंस के थ्रू उसको कैनकिड्स एडमिशन करवाया और वहां पे उसको 2-3 डेज का डॉक्टर एंड नर्स केयर मिला। फिर अकॉर्डिंग टू डॉक्टर उसका फॉलो अप 4-5 डेज के बाद प्लान होता है अगेन मैक्स में। देन यहाँ पे डॉक्टर फिर उसका अपने सामने उसका फ्रेश ड्रेसिंग करते हैं और उसको नेक्स्ट प्लान देते हैं। तो हर एक बच्चे के केस में ये डिफरेंट होता है, किसी किसी केसेस में 2-3 फॉलो अप विजिट रिक्वायरमेंट होती है सर्जन के साथ, और किसी किसी केस में 1 और 2 विजिट के बाद डॉक्टर उनको अलाउ करते हैं कि अब वो अपने घर जा सकते हैं। और आफ्टर 21 डेज, मोस्टली आफ्टर 21 डेज वो अपनी पोस्ट ऑप कीमोथेरेपी प्राइमरी हॉस्पिटल में जाके ले सकते हैं। तो
ठीक।
सेम इसके साथ हुआ, आफ्टर 21 डेज वो फिर से पटना हॉस्पिटल गए और उसने अपना पोस्ट ऑफ एडजुवेंट कीमोथेरेपी वहां पे कंप्लीट किया।
जी।
फिर 3 मंथ्स
मैं
में
जरा अनीस से एक और सवाल पूछ लूं।
ये
अनीस, आप अकेले आए थे बिहार से दिल्ली, या आपकी साथ में आपके मम्मी पापा भी आए थे?
हम और मम्मी पापा, हम पापा
दोनों आए थे साथ में?
जी, दो आदमी जी।
ठीक है। और आपको कैसा लगा कि आपको इतनी दूर आना पड़ा, और जब आपको बताया कि इतनी सर्जरी है तो कैसा लगा आपको?
बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
कोई दिक्कत नहीं?
पहले घबरा गए थे वहां जाने के बाद, जब मेरे पास रश्मि मैम आई तब अच्छा लगा बहुत
जी। ओके, सॉरी रश्मि, कंटिन्यू।
सो अकॉर्डिंग टू सर्जन, जब बच्चा अगर इसकी एडजुवेंट कीमोथेरेपी प्रॉपरली ले रहा है तो उसको आफ्टर 3 मंथ्स एक्सरे और कुछ ब्लड टेस्ट एक्सेट्रा इन्वेस्टिगेशंस करवाने की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, और वो करवा के फिर ये एक बार सर्जन से दिल्ली मिलने आ सकते हैं। तो सेम
जी।
प्रोसेस, सर्जन के साथ अपॉइंटमेंट फिक्स करना, इनका एकोमोडेशन अरेंज करना, और
राइट।
साथ में हमारे कैंडिडेट्स की तरफ से पोस्ट ऑप में और ड्यूरिंग ट्रीटमेंट में न्यूट्रिशन, एजुकेशन, एंटरटेनमेंट और एक्सेट्रा बहुत सारे तरीके के सपोर्ट हैं जो हम बच्चे को उसका चाइल्डहुड देने के लिए भी प्लान करते हैं, वो सब हमने प्रोवाइड किया। और अनीस ने बहुत अच्छे से 3 मंथ्स पे अपने फॉलोअप्स किए और इसने बहुत अच्छे से रिकवरी करी। और एक बहुत अच्छी चीज क्या है कि अनीस आजकल साइकिल चला के अपने कोचिंग सेंटर भी जाता है, तो इसने इतने अच्छे से रिकवरी किया है। अभी कोविड में सिचुएशन नॉर्मल नहीं है, तो लास्ट 10 to 11 मंथ से ये सेंटर विजिट नहीं कर पाया है, तो इसके लिए हमने ऑल्टरनेट ऑप्शन किया कि इसने अपने होम टाउन में एक्सरे करवाया, और ये एक्सरे और रिपोर्ट्स मेरे साथ शेयर करते हैं और वो मैं सर्जन के साथ डिस्कस करती हूँ। तो अभी इसका रिजल्ट अच्छा है और अच्छा ही इसके एक्सरे का डॉक्टर ने मुझे रिस्पांस बताया है।
गुड गुड, थैंक यू थैंक यू, अच्छा है। तो आप साइकिल भी कर लेते हैं अब?
जी जी।
गुड, नाइस नाइस। हम साक्षी से बात करते हैं। साक्षी, अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर दो। साक्षी, थिंक शी इज फ्रोजन, इज इट? हाँ साक्षी, हाय, थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए और आप बताइए कि आप कहाँ से आई हैं और आपका पहले सिम्टम्स क्या थे और कैसे डायग्नोसिस हुआ, कैसे ट्रीटमेंट के लिए आप यहाँ आई?
मैं यूपी की कानपुर की रहने वाली हूँ और मेरी नवंबर 2019 में बैटरी कानपुर में हुई, तब मुझे बीमारी का पता चला। और जब का पता चला तो मैं तो बहुत घबरा गई। फिर इसके बाद मेरे भैया की तबीयत खराब हो गई, तो इस वजह से मैं 2-3 महीने नहीं आ पाई, 2 महीने यहाँ। और जब मैं यहाँ आई मार्च में, तो मैंने सफदरजंग में दिखाया 2-3 दिन। उसके बाद लॉकडाउन हो गया, तो लॉकडाउन से मेरा कोई ट्रीटमेंट नहीं हो पाया, तो बीमारी थोड़ी और बढ़ गई। इसके बाद यहाँ से दिल्ली से हम हरियाणा को गए। हरियाणा में जब गए तो वहाँ पे मेरी बैटरी दोबारा फिर थी। जब बीमारी मतलब पता चला है कि ये बीमारी, वहाँ पर मेरी कीमोथेरेपी हुई रोहतक में PGI। और जब कीमोथेरेपी हुई, डॉक्टर ने ऑपरेशन के लिए जब बोला, तो मैं ऑपरेशन के लिए जब गई तो डॉक्टर ने मुझे बताया कि ऐसा ऐसा ऑपरेशन होगा। और डॉक्टर ने बहुत पहले मुझे देखा कि बहुत परेशान है, तो उन्होंने मेरी हेल्प की। बोले आप उनसे मिल लो जाके, ऐसे ऐसे संजय सर, सोशल वर्कर संजय सर से मिलवाया। और संजय सर से मिले और संजय सर ने कहा मेरे से जितनी हेल्प हो पाएगी मैं आपकी हेल्प करूँगा। और जब उन्होंने मेरी हेल्प करने को कहा, उसके रश्मि मैम का नंबर दिया और मैंने रश्मि मैम से बात की। रश्मि मैम ने मुझे साकेत दिल्ली में हॉस्पिटल में बुलाया। और जब मैं यहाँ आई तो यहाँ पे देखा तो ट्रीटमेंट ने बताया ऐसा होगा
जी।
तो मेरी सर्जरी मतलब जो भी मदद आ रही मदद की, मुझे पूरी मदद मिली और मेरी सर्जरी हो गई। उसके बाद मुझे सफदरजंग के लिए कीमोथेरेपी जो होनी थी बाद में यहाँ के लिए भेजा।
राइट।
और फिर तो सर्जरी होने के बाद मुझे गौतम नगर कैंटिट में भेजा
ओके
और मेरी 2 कीमोथेरेपी हो गई है मैम।
तो अभी कीमो चल रही है आपकी? अभी
मैम
ट्रीटमेंट
2 ही
खत्म के
पहले
चल
बताई
रही है?
अभी वो पहले 2 बताई थी, लेकिन पेट स्कैन जांच करवाई, उसमें कुछ डॉक्टर को दिखा तो उन्होंने बोला अभी ये 2 और होंगी।
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. Rashmi, anything that was different about Sakshi's case compared to Anis? You know, क्या अलग था? If you can just
यस
highlight.
मैम। मैम साक्षी के केस में जो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो इसका डिजीज था वो साइट था वो इसको ह्यूमरस में था, मीन्स हाथ में था, और अनीस को पैर में था। तो एक तो ये चैलेंज था कि अनीस के लिए वॉकिंग में इशू था, वो इशू साक्षी के साथ नहीं था। एंड सेकंड इसमें एक और जो डिफरेंट था कि साक्षी का प्राइमरी हॉस्पिटल पीजीआई रोहतक रहा था, जहाँ पे इसने न्यू एडजुवेंट कीमोथेरेपी कंप्लीट किया था, बट इसने पोस्ट ऑफ कीमोथेरेपी हमारा सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल में कंप्लीट किया है। और ये हमने ही इसको सजेस्ट किया और गाइड किया, बिकॉज हमारा जो कैनकिड सेंटर है वो गौतम नगर नियर ग्रीन पार्क अवेलेबल है, और वहां से हार्डली 1 किलोमीटर दूर पे ही हमारा सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल है, और साक्षी का जो होम टाउन है वो बिहार में है। तो ये इसके लिए चैलेंज था कि ये रोहतक में रह के अपना एडजुवेंट कीमोथेरेपी कंप्लीट करती, इसलिए अपना सारा थेरेपी हमारे कैनकिड सेंटर में स्टे करके और सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल में कंप्लीट किया। तो इसके लिए थोड़ा इजी हो गया था कि ये यहाँ से अपना मैनेज कर सके। हालांकि क्राउड और बाकी चीजों के नजरिए से इसको वो भी चैलेंज रहा था। वहाँ पे हमारी कैनकिड्स की टीम है ऑलरेडी, सफदरजंग में भी है, वो इसको हेल्प करती थी, और बीच बीच में जब भी इसको फॉलोअप्स की रिक्वायरमेंट होती थी तो ये हमारे पास यहाँ मैक्स हॉस्पिटल साकेत में भी इजीली विजिट कर पाती थी।
Right.
तो 2 चैलेंज इसके साथ थे। और एक और डिफरेंस जो मुझे लगता है दोनों केसेस में था, जो मैंने पहले आपको एक्सप्लेन किया, कि अनीस के टाइम पे हमें मैक्स इंडिया फाउंडेशन ने हेल्प किया था, और साक्षी के टाइम पे जो हमने अपना मैक्स चाइल्डहुड कैंसर केयर फंड हमने क्रिएट किया है, उससे हमने इस बच्चे को सर्जरी सपोर्ट किया है।
Okay. तो दोनों केसेस में वो पॉसिबल नहीं था कि आप कोई भी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम यूज कर पाए?
नो मैम, दोनों ही केसेस मेरे पास जस्ट कीमोथेरेपी फर्स्ट जो इनिशियल होता है इसका न्यू एडजुवेंट वो कंप्लीट करके आए थे, और उस टाइम पे हमारे पास इतना टाइम नहीं था कि हम बच्चे की सर्जरी के लिए वेट कर सकें, तो इमीडिएट हमें डिसीजन लेना था।
राइट। सो Poonam and Dr. Ramandeep, I think it's a good time to go into how do we work towards ensuring that you know, at the point of at least the cancer diagnosis, you know, they are advised in terms of the options available for, you know, whether it's schemes or sources, as well as how do they get access to the right type of treatment options.
So may I go first? Yeah. So one thing I want to say is, and you started the conversation from this point, that if we look at this particular collaboration project, it is driven by Dr. Ramandeep, and I really want to acknowledge how much that means. When a doctor looks at holistic care for patients, and we look at the fact that we are not just doing surgeries at Max Hospital,
Correct.
We know that there's a challenge, and we knew there was a challenge with where should children get their surgeries, right? As you can see in both cases, there's a timing issue. You need to get diagnosed, you need to have maybe chemotherapy, then you need to have the surgery in time, and then you need to have chemotherapy again. And you rightly said that it's, I think, pretty much after the first cycle that you need to actually visit the surgeon so that you know that you are planning for surgery, maybe 3 months later, and that then you are able to work on making sure the child has access to the government funding as well.
Right.
So I think we've been doing this project now for 2 years, Raman. Is it 2 years?
Yeah, more than 2 years, yeah.
And I think we have learned a lot during this time. I think, and you're completely right, the more we coordinate it well together, the more we will be able to ensure that we also use government schemes
Right.
and make sure that whatever we can get from government schemes is possible. So, to give you an example, at Can Kids, we provide the social workers, right? And our social workers last year got access to, let's say, 18 crores worth of government schemes. And we ourselves, this was in 2018-19, we ourselves provided about 8 crores of support. So you can see that there's so much more government funding available.
Correct.
So yes, we should use our funds, the funds we raise from donors to fill gaps. But more important, our social workers do work on making sure that we can access whatever schemes are possible. But as we discussed, this particular session today is about showing how collaboration between so many different people is
Right.
involved. And I think this is what Rashmi was highlighting in both her stories. कि एक पटना की टीम की जरूरत है, पटना का डॉक्टर, पटना की सोशल सपोर्ट टीम, पेशेंट नेविगेटर, पेशेंट की फैमिली, इधर का डॉक्टर, इधर की एनजीओ. So it takes it's a challenge to do all that, and that challenge is overcome when there is a commitment to do so, right? And when there is a champion who says, okay, we can overcome the odds, we can figure it out some way, but you have to keep at it. And we're trying to do a similar project now for radiation services as well, because again, there's a paucity of radiation services, especially in northern India. And again, these are really about collaboration, coordination, and access to care. Raman?
Right.
Yeah, this is, we're all on the same page over here. हमारे हिसाब से there are 4 things you need. Patient is in the center of this. तो उसके हिसाब से आपको 4 चीजें और चाहिए. एक आपको चाहिए committed local individual or local team.
Right.
Because उसके बिना कुछ नहीं हो सकता.
Right.
Number 2 आपको चाहिए receiving end पे committed local person or team. This is the medical and the healthcare part.
Right.
Then you need this completely bridged by the social care team.
Right.
And that, thankfully, in the case of Can Kids, because it has a national footprint, coordination automatically happens, because ऐसा नहीं है कि वहाँ कोई और NGO, यहाँ कोई और NGO है, वहाँ कोई और donor है, यहाँ कोई और है. So that is taken care of. And then the 4th part comes, which is the fundraising.
Right.
So without the other 3 funds का कुछ नहीं कर सकते. And once you have all the 4 ingredients, then it's just a question of fine tuning it and maximizing it. तो अगर आप सिर्फ अपनी जेब से पैसा खर्च करोगे तो आप 1 कर लोगे, 5 कर लोगे, 10 कर लोगे, आप 10 लाख खर्च कर लोगे, 20 लाख खर्च करोगे, 50 लाख खर्च करोगे. पर अगर इसी को आप गवर्नमेंट फंड से कर लोगे तो आप 2 करोड़ खर्च कर लोगे, 3 करोड़ खर्च कर लोगे.
Correct.
Now imagine this is one partnership, and suddenly you open 5 such partnerships for each sector of India. So suddenly you're doing 10 crore worth of work.
Right.
And now if we are able to do, say, 20 to 30 surgeries a year, you can do 100 and 250 surgeries per year. So this is where we are hoping to head.
Right.
Because we are definitely better off now than we were when we started, because we have learned more. Now, once we can both, increase and amplify our work in terms of sarcoma, but also start reaching out to new frontiers. So radiation being one example. We have been doing similar work in retinoblastoma, not necessarily our hospital, but there are other physicians and doctors involved. Again, kind of Can Kids helping that, who need complex eye surgery and saving the eye.
Right.
That's another area. I think brain tumors is a huge area which is completely untouched.
Right.
Transplant is another area. But for all these areas, वो ingredients तो वही 4 हैं. आपको local committed champion चाहिए, जहाँ पहुँच रहे वहाँ का neurosurgeon या transplant person has to be willing to, meet you halfway. Not just say कि भाई मेरे OPD में आके आप बिल भर दोगे तो ठीक है, बाकी मेरे को कोई interest नहीं है. We won't work like that.
Right.
And then of course you have the NGO and you have the funds coming through.
तो उसमें भी talking of this, right? If I go back to the originating point, you need to already establish those relationships, right? So that doctor at that first instance says कि अच्छा हमारे hospital में नहीं है, आप Can Kids से बात करो या किसी से बात करो ताकि वो organize कर सके ये या, or they can help you coordinate this, right? And especially I'm talking of, because I think what also happens in cancer care is कि doctors will suggest NGOs in cases where people are very clearly, BPL, right, below poverty line, or very disenfranchised. But then there is that segment just above, which really struggles to figure this out as well.
So can I answer that?
Sure.
Aparna, I do want to say that it is really around the care coordination piece, right? So it doesn't really have to be NGO. It has to be good care coordination. And the question is, who is orchestrating that care coordination, right?
Right.
Once you have that, and I know that we are in my NGO, we have actually provided staff to all the hospitals. So it's very easy for Rashmi in Max to reach out to Vibha, who's sitting there, or the team in Patna, to talk to them, or to the team in Sabdajang, etc. Right? The more we are able to do this, the more we'll be able to ensure that people work together, right? So if you ask me, how would you replicate a care coordination model if you don't have a pan-India footprint like we do? I am not 100% sure yet, but we are working on trying to figure out how we can, with state governments, define referral pathways and agree on them such that people are able to comfortably talk to each other. Because I have seen many cases where a doctor will say, okay, you need to go here. In fact, that's how the Eye Cancer Project started, because I was talking to a doctor who was receiving patients for chemotherapy. And I said, do you know where they get their surgeries done? And she said, I have no idea. They show up. And when they show up, I treat them. So that's when we realized that we are missing a very, very vital piece, right?
True.
And so that is why access to care for me is a lot about coordination. And it requires effort. It requires effort for Dr. Raman and other doctors to say that, okay, beyond just treating patients, I'm also going to worry about the whole care plan.
Correct.
And if we don't get that, it's not going to happen. So it's not for care coordination or patient navigation, is not just for the below poverty line. I can tell you that my mother got treated at Max Hospital, but it was only really, really good because there was a patient navigator with us every step of the way. Otherwise, it's just you're lost in a hospital. So I don't think that that is something you need only for the below poverty line piece or ill avoiding piece. Is what Raman said is the financial part of it, right? Which is the fourth element he talked about. He didn't talk about it as the first, second, or the third element. The funding piece is the fourth element for those who can't afford it.
Right.
Even if you can afford it, you still need 1, 2, and 3. You still need 2 doctors or 2 treating teams committed to each other and to the patient, and you still need the care coordination team in the middle.
Right.
I think that's a key, person that you brought into the picture, the patient navigator, Poonam. I think CanKids is doing a great job at just even like tagging that person. But do you think most hospitals even have such a person in place?
Yes, increasingly. And there are also NGOs like Sanjeevani and a lot of others running courses now on patient navigation, on care coordination, because I think everybody's come to realize that within your hospital, private hospitals all now provide very good patient navigators and are investing into it. But even I think within the government sector, they're beginning to realize that this is an area that we need strengthening. And I think we will see in the coming days, this will become more and more important. Sanjeevani runs some excellent courses. Ruby Aluwalia, who's a cancer survivor as well, she set that up. That's doing well. TIS is running courses. The Tata Hospital promoted some courses on patient navigation, etc. I think the one difference we have at CanKids is we have encouraged our parents to become patient navigators. So you can see Biva looking really proud on the screen, the lady in the pink. She's actually the mother of a cancer patient who started, working with us as a patient navigator. But having social support teams and patient navigation, care coordination is important.
Right. No, absolutely. I think, and I know we said we would also give if you can talk us through, I think Rashmi had talked about this a little bit, and Dr. Ramandeep, you also talked about it. Just for people who are watching, what is the lead time required to access government funding? Because I think that is also a challenge, right? It comes through that, you keep saying that there wasn't enough time, and then we had to rely on foundations or Can Kids funds, etc.
So the one thing I can tell you is, and I'm not plugging a government agenda, but the PMJ is a fantastic thing that has come through, right? Because yes, you know, in the first round, a lot of the hospitals said the packages are too low, it won't actually work. And so, yes, it would be that you get the package and you supplement it with maybe an NGO or funds that you have set up, right? Second round, the packages have gone up a little bit. But now you have your Aadhaar card, you walk into a hospital, you check that you're covered with PMJ. You actually don't need to worry too much. It's a huge step towards universal health coverage. And I think there were teething troubles like they are with everything else, but that PMJ will help a lot, right? A lot of the time when we say we took time for accessing government schemes, prior to PMJ, we had only welfare schemes to go to, which is the Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare or the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. But with PMJ coming in, that is not as important. It's slowly coming down and the PMJ is going up. State governments have state insurance schemes. So the more we use insurance, right, whether it is private insurance or central government insurance or state government insurance, the easier this is going to become. There will still be gaps. And that is why we perceive the role of an NGO will still be there. There will still be gaps, and that is why we need Rashmi. Because Rashmi is the person who runs around with the whole team at Max, trying to find where is the funding, trying to get the paperwork done, all of that. We will always need that, right? But I think the financial funding will become much, much better. So instead of just saying below poverty line, as you mentioned, now a lot of people above poverty line are being able to access this, the insurance, and it will just keep moving up is the good news.
Right, good. I think if anybody is watching and has any more questions, please send them in. You talked of, I think Rashmi mentioned how COVID impacted the access to care as well. Dr. Amandeep, is there any data on this yet as to, how much of a drop did we see in?
We're just writing up this national piece. We did a study on 30 centers across the country, and we asked them the number of patients they had from the 1st January 2020 to 23rd March 2020, which is the day the lockdown was announced, and then from 24th March 2020 to 31st May 2020, which was the next 2 months and a quarter, right? And we did 3 things. The first thing we did was we said, okay, what was the average number of patients per week before and what was the average number of patients per week afterwards? And we saw 47% decline in new patients being registered. So approximately half the patients in the immediate 2 months of the lockdown were not being registered. Of course, this varied by hospital to hospital. So if you're a COVID hospital, there was a 100% drop. And if you're some other hospitals, you might have a very small drop or you might have strategies to address it. But across, we think there's a 50% drop. The next part of the study was to say, okay, for all those who are already on treatment, in how many cases did the chemotherapy, radiation therapy, surgery, and transplant get affected? And the ballpark figure is 1/3. So 1/3 of our patients in the month of April and May who were already on treatment had to compromise on some aspect of radiation, chemo, transplant, and surgery. So putting these 2 figures together, we believe that 2 out of 3 children with cancer had delayed treatment or no treatment during the months of April or May 2020. Of course, with time that improved, but this study looked at that. We also then asked the individual centers about the strategies which they adopted and what worked and didn't work for them, etc. And one of the very interesting things which came out was that for certain things, their requirements and the need for collaboration and support from NGOs dramatically jumped. For example, for transport, because they were not able to cross all the barriers made by state governments because of COVID restriction
Right.
travel.
Right.
And so suddenly the NGOs, and I'm sure Poonam can tell you anecdotes of ambulances going across the country from one place to the other place with staff and with, other patients and so on, trying to get them just for their appointment, just for blood transfusion, just for pain relief or whatever, and taking them back home. So things like transport, lodging, access to PPE, etc., was the one where, or were the things where hospitals depended more and more on the not-for-profit sector or had to find their own mechanisms, because the government had focused at that time on handling the pandemic and was
Right.
diverting resources and people there.
Right. And after any anecdotal evidence on after May, I know you said that they've started to improve, but have we reached normal levels, or are we still 20-30% behind? What is the...
I mean, I can only speak for my center because I don't have information of all across the country. So for my center, I know that we are back to normal, but it may not apply everywhere. There were some centers in Delhi in the government sector which were COVID-19 centers.
Correct.
They are, I think, either have just started to resume the services now in the month of February or March, or even now not completely open, maybe only having OPD or something like that. So things are not back to normal completely, but maybe Poonam may have a better insight.
Yeah, so we register patients under our virtual cancer assistance network, and we have seen overall a 30% drop in registrations, that is new cases. So while our patient supported went up significantly, because as Raman said, we were supporting a lot more, giving drugs in villages, sending stuff across, etc., but that dropped. It's coming back slowly. I think what is worrying us is that while we kept a lot of children on therapy, and we were able to manage that, again, a collaboration between hospitals, making sure if the kids you know that I'm a big fan of Dr. Ramande. By the number of times I say thank you to him, but hey, people like him, people like Dr. Mahajan at Apollo, who came together and said, all right, fine, if there's a COVID hospital, we'll take over the care of the children from there, right? So I think we managed together to keep a lot of children on therapy.
Right.
But I don't know how many children actually are sitting at home, and that is going to hit us in the coming months.
Right.
How many children who are going to show up? I think Tata Hospital is already putting out some data on this to say children are coming in with, delayed or
advanced stages.
Advanced stages. So however, there was one other thing that did happen, which we saw from our data, that the registrations in B cities and C cities went up, which means, for instance, in Maharashtra, where we have a state project, Tata Hospital dropped registration, but the hospitals at Aurangabad went up. So that means patients were then possibly going to Aurangabad instead because they could make it to Aurangabad. So the coming days are going to tell us exactly what has been the overall impact of all of this. And we actually started the year 2020 thinking we were all set for our global initiative on childhood cancer, and we're going to work on this big WHO project for improving survivals and access to care. So we keep wondering how much of a setback there has been, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll resume those or continue to plug on. So
yeah.
Was there any impact on follow-ups for patients, or were we able to go online and do virtual follow-ups?
So at CanKids, for sure, we have, as I told you, our patient navigation force. They were all sitting at home, the mothers, and the number of phone calls we have made. I mean, we actually counted them. There's been a lot of follow-up work by the social workers, a lot of chasing. But again, like I said, this is going to be possible where there are good NGOs or good social support teams to actually keep following up, or where a treating team has a very strong system of ensuring that they're following up. Like I know, for instance, at All India Institute with Dr. Bakshi at the Rotary Cancer Hospital, I was talking to him. He was running a full-fledged all-9 service the whole time. He was getting reports on email. His team was doing the follow-up every single day.
Right.
I know
Right.
that the people who were able to continue the service, I just used him as a good example. There were several other such
Right.
treating ups where they actually swung into action to make sure they didn't lose patients. Even in Calcutta, likewise. They did a very good job of trying to hold on to making sure that the team was constantly following up so families knew, families could be reassured, where we could bring patients. Dr. Rachna Seth at AIIMS POD would say, can you please bring my patient from here? They're due. And I think we literally did individual help. And I'm sure other NGOs, I know for a fact that other NGOs also stepped in.
Right.
And online activity went up hugely.
Right.
And I think that has helped. That has helped.
Right. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. Ramandeep, before we do the wrap up?
I just want to say a big thank you to Rashmi, because I think this particular project is Rashmi's. You saw with how much passion she spoke.
Correct.
She is the fulcrum of this project, without a doubt.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add. This for me, I trained in UK, and you are very, you don't realize how easy it is to do things, because there are only 22 centers in the country which can treat cancer. A child cannot go anywhere. They're all within 50-mile radius. This thing, you never think of these things. It's only when you came over here you realize that you've got to build similar systems. And fortunate to be surrounded by people who have similar thoughts, and which makes the job so much easier. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Rashmi, आपको कुछ कहना है?
थैंक यू मैम. एक्चुअली मैं अपने डॉक्टर को और पूनम मैम को ही थैंक्स कहना चाहूंगी, बिकॉज ये दो ब्रिज ऐसे हैं, मैक्स हॉस्पिटल का और कैनकिड्स का, कि इसके बिना तो मैं परफॉर्म नहीं कर सकती थी. और प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में प्रॉपर गाइडेंस, प्रॉपर केयर प्लान, और कैसे कैसे मेरे सामने कई बार चैलेंजेस आए हैं पेशेंट के हर एक केस के अकॉर्डिंग, तो उसमें मुझे हमेशा ही सर का सपोर्ट और सजेशंस मिलते रहते हैं. तो स्पेशली मैं सर को थैंक्स कहना चाहूंगी. एंड पूनम मैम का थैंक्स इसलिए बिकॉज कैनकिड्स की बहुत सारी हमारी ऐसी सपोर्ट सर्विसेज हैं जो हम सिर्फ सर्जरी पार्ट से रिलेटेड नहीं होती हैं, जो हमें केयर प्लान से रिलेटेड देनी होती हैं पेशेंट्स को. तो उसके लिए मैं थैंक्स कहना चाहूंगी. और हमारे दोनों बच्चे, उन्होंने इमीडिएटली हमारे ऑफर को एक्सेप्ट किया और बहुत एक्साइटेड थे वो आज के सेशन को लेके, और उन्होंने टाइमली आके और हमारे सेशन को ज्वाइन किया. तो उनको भी मैं थैंक्स कहना चाहूंगी. एंड थैंक्स टू यू मैम कि आपने हमें इतना अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म दिया, अपॉर्चुनिटी दी, जहाँ पे हमने ये सब डिस्कशन किया.
थैंक यू रश्मि. हाँ नहीं, थैंक यू अनीस, आप इतनी दूर से आए हैं. आप सॉरी पूनम, लेट मी जस्ट, पूरी रात ट्रैवल करके आए हैं और फिर अब वापस जा रहे हैं. और विभा, आप कह रही हो आप पेरेंट हैं और अब नेविगेटर भी हैं, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगी अपना?
यस मैम. मैं तो एक गांव की रहने वाली थी मैम, बस सिर्फ साधारण इंटर पास, लेकिन पूनम मैम ने आज हमको यहाँ बैठा दिया. इतना मतलब अच्छा महसूस करती हूँ कि इतना अच्छा काम हमको करने को मिला है. इसलिए पूनम मैम एंड आप लोग सभी को कैंडिस टीम को थैंक्स देना चाहती हूँ.
थैंक यू सो मच. साक्षी, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगी? आई थिंक आपकी ट्रीटमेंट ठीक चल रही है. आई होप कि आप ठीक हो जाएं जल्दी से और वापस जाएं अपने घर.
हाँ बस ठीक हो जाऊंगी. अब बस लास्ट टाइम घर ही जाने वाले हैं, और मेरे टीम ने मेरी बहुत हेल्प की, मदद की, उसके लिए बहुत धन्यवाद.
Right. Sorry, Poonam, you were saying something at that time.
Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about one last thing, and I'm sorry, we should have discussed this. I think a big piece of this is also when public and private sector come together. Because a lot of it is gap filling, right? And I want to say project like this works when the government hospital, the private hospital come together. Also, a private hospital needs to show commitment to patient care, even to the underprivileged. So had Max Hospital, for instance, in this case, not agreed to the discounts, not brought down the rates, it would have been very, very difficult. Right. And we saw this during COVID as well. I mean, we just closed our eyes and said, okay, these children need help, please take care of them, whether it was Apollo or Max in Delhi. And they actually did come forward to look at the fact that we are bringing in underprivileged children, and it wasn't that, okay, let's just charge whatever we normally charge.
Right.
So equally, the government hospitals didn't say, oh, we can't send children to a private hospital. This is changing as well within the country. Otherwise, still, when I first started, it was, oh, government hospital, we can never send the children to a private hospital. But if the government hospital doesn't have time or has a patient overload, if you don't work together, you can't achieve what we've achieved.
Correct, correct.
So this is also something that really is a big piece of the collaboration, where the government agrees that, yes, we have to work together, and there's not this notion of, oh, private hospital will charge an arm and a leg, you cannot go to the private hospital as well. Because it's not every private. So equally, there are some private hospitals who do this, and some who say we're not engaging in any social activity.
Correct.
So a big plug to private hospitals to say you all must engage in social activity. And of course, a thanks to the government to change their attitude, and okay, we really do need to do this together. Otherwise, we won't be able to take care of all the children, no matter how much PMJ we do.
Correct. I think so. I think we really need to all work together, whether it's public organizations, private organizations, social organizations, etc. We all have to come together, and citizens, right? At the end of the day, I think we all have to keep plugging at it to fill the gaps. And the more we are aware and informed, we cannot navigate, these challenges. We have, as Dr. Aman said, that we don't have a clear pathway set up in any care, in the country. So unless we either are able to work with somebody who can guide us through, or the family members come together to figure that out for the patient, it's a huge challenge. So thank you. I think this has been a great learning experience. And if anybody would, who's watching this and would like to understand more, you can reach out to us, can reach out to Poonam, Dr. Amandeep. I think they're all very accessible. And we would really want to see this extend and reach other areas of care as well. So thank you. Thank you all so much for coming in today.
Thank
And thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.